Alright viewers, I'm making a new segment where I just teach all the basics to Zippo tricks. So this is basically for all the people who are just starting or are beginners still. I know most of you are going to be like, Raph, it's been like 6 months, you haven't taught us anything, and now you're going to teach us like all the beginner stuff. Yeah, well, I have a cookie. Okay. I've been working hard, and I just want to get through this before I start doing all the more technical and difficult stuff. So just bear with me, and maybe you might learn something here. Alright, so before we actually learn any tricks, you're going to have to learn all the components to the Zippo first. You see here, this is the insert, and this is the casing. Insert, casing, 2 parts. Now we have the cap, or the top. You get the base. I'm not sure if it's called the base, but I just like to call it the base. This is the bottom where the stamp is located. This is the chimney, the flint wheel. The flint's right under the flint wheel. This is the hinge lock. So you can't close it if it's up. This is the hinge right here. This is the wick. And if you can see right under, this is where the flint goes. So if you unscrew it, it's like a little flint spring. If you unscrew it, it's all the cotton. This is where you put in all your fluid. And this little hole. Not quite sure what it's exactly used for, but I like to put a spare flint in there. Or you could just fill it up from that hole. I don't know. The hole's just there. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to teach is the finger pass, which is basically the bread and butter of all Zippo tricks. Let me think here. I'm pretty sure almost every single like expert or like difficult move will have you do some sort of finger passing, but it's just good to learn it off the bat because it's kind of hard to learn, but once you master it, it becomes extremely easy, and it makes your tricks look a lot cooler if you're trying to do combos and stuff like that. You can use it for like a whole bunch of other things too. Like it doesn't even just have to be Zippo tricks. It could be, I don't know if you're into pen spinning or like maybe even battle song tricks. But yeah, it's basically a huge bread and butter for Zippo tricks. So basically it looks like that. One more time. Oh, went out there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You could do it backwards, like that. There's like probably like hundreds of variations to do this, but that's the most simplest. Just down and back up, like that. Alright, so actually it looks pretty easy when you try doing it, but when you start doing it, you'll realize that it's kind of a little more difficult than you'd think. Basically all you're doing is you just start with your fingers in between the hinges, or on the hinge thing, like that, and then you're just kind of twisting your fingers so you just pass it around, like that. Then you can go faster. So yeah, so here, let me try getting a little bit closer. If that works. No, that does not work. Never mind. Alright, so alright. Here, look at it from this angle. So you're just pretty much just twisting in between your fingers. I mean, you could try this with like a pen or a coin or something. It doesn't have to be a Zippo. But you're just basically doing that. Yeah, it looks simple, but it's actually a lot harder when you actually try it out. But that's pretty much it. There's like 100 variations. But this is by far the simplest, since it's just 1, 2. It's safe to do it when the fire's lit. Just if you do it fast enough. Otherwise you might get burnt. But I recommend definitely doing this before you light the fire. I'd like to say that for almost every single trick, actually. Do it without the fire, and then do the trick. That's a big piece of information there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Alright, next in line is the squeezes, and there's 4 primary squeezes, which is the top pop. Hold on, I screwed that up. Screwed that up again. There we go, top pop. Reverse top pop. Oh, I'm just messing these up today. There we go. One more time. Reverse top pop. And then we got the palm squeeze. Let me try that one more time. Palm squeeze. There we go. One more time. Palm squeeze. And the hardest is the reverse palm squeeze. Let me try that one more time. There we go. Palm squeeze. Reversed. And those are the 4 basic squeezes. Probably these are the easiest of all Zippo tricks, since it's just one simple movement of the hand. They're basically all just openers, a way to begin your your Zippo tricks or anything like that. Look flashy. If you just like do it out of the blue, just be like, oh yeah, top hop. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, like that. Trying to be all fancy. But they're pretty much like the easiest thing. So to do the top pop, I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory. I mean, you just squeeze down and then just let the pressure from your fingers just pop all the way to the top, and then it just opens. So squeeze down like that. Oops. Alright, like this, like that. Okay, now one problem is that when you do this, you see this hinge thing right here? When you do this trick, you kind of mess up your hinge every single time you do it. So if you keep doing this over time, like say 100 times, then your hinge is probably going to get messed up over time. So I wouldn't recommend doing this on like a Zippo that's like expensive and really nice. I'd only do top pop, or palm squeeze, well, mostly top pop, on a like older or maybe a nice Zippo, because you will damage it if you do this over time. It's one of those tricks where like it'll mess up your Zippo. I mean, if you could see it right now, the cap isn't lined up with the base of the Zippo anymore. That's because I've been doing top pop on this thing like all the time, and that's what happens. Your cap will bend backwards or be pushed backwards because the hinge is also being bent. Yeah, that's blurry. Sorry about that. But yeah. So that's just a warning there. So yeah, top pop. Reverse top pop, exact same thing. But this time you just put your thumb on the cap instead of the bottom part. So you're just holding it upside down. You just do the same thing. This one's easier because there's more weight on the base of the Zippo than there is at the cap. So you just need a light squeeze. Like that. Really simple. Palm squeeze is just a little bit more difficult. Hold it like this. You got your hinge pointing upwards, and the stamp of the Zippo towards your palm like this. Kind of hold it like a gun. And then you just push with your middle finger. So just, yeah, kind of like grip it with your thumb and your index finger at the top right there. And then you're just kind of building force at your palm right there. And then if you build enough, then I'll just pop right out like that. Now the reverse one is a lot more trickier than the first 3. You kind of like, how do I explain this? You kind of have to force more energy in the top than you do at the base. That might be a little bit confusing, but basically you're doing the same thing, but the hinge this time is at the bottom. Stamp is still at your palm, but you kind of push down, and there's more force towards the cap than there is at the base of the Zippo. So it pops up like that. This one's by far one of the trickiest ones, but looks kind of cool when you get it down. Like that. And those are basically all the openers. Wow, my voice is sounding very nasal today. Alright, so throwing and catching, throwing and catching. There's probably 100 different ways you could throw it and 100 different ways you could catch it. But in this video, I'm just going to teach you a very simplified way. It's very safe, and I usually do this style throwing in all my tricks. So basically, what I do is, of course, before you start any of your tricks, you're going to make sure that it's not lit. Otherwise, if you mess it up, then you're not going to burn anything. But how I do it is kind of like to hold it this way, so my fingers under the Zippo, so where the stamp is, and then I kind of like to use my finger to push it upwards, so that way when I throw it up all the way, that little push at the kind of corner right here makes it easier for it to flip around, and like this, like a flip. It flips easy when I do that. So that's like how I like to throw it. Just that little push there. Makes it real easy to do one flip. Aside, because most people, or not most people, but like a way that I think is a incorrect way to throw it is just straight up just chucking it up in the air and then so you catch it this way and you burn your hand. I don't like to do that. But how I do it is when you do throw it this way, it'll go up in the air, and then let me just simulate this. So you throw it up in the air and it starts to spin upwards like this. Now while it's upward like this, you don't have to worry or anything because it's not going to go straight back down like that. Since you spun it, or you did that little flick in the beginning, it'll do one whole spin. So by the time it goes back to your hand, it's already back this way. So you don't have to worry about catching it the wrong way. So this is definitely out of the question if you end up catching it this way. If you do end up catching it this way, that's probably your fault. But I'm pretty sure 90% of the time when you do it this way, this one isn't lit. Let me find it. Alright, 1 second. Okay, so 90% of the time, you will find that when you throw it in this style, you're going to catch it stamped down. So that's basically the way I like to throw my Zippo and catch it.